We're now at turn 11 in Saratoga. This is the 6 p.m. turn. And the picture that I have here is giving you an overview of most of the battlefield at the end of this turn. The way things started out, the British got initiative and their light infantry continued to try to move around the American left flank with the idea of approaching Bemis Heights from the forest to the west. You can see that in the lower right-hand side of this picture. Brigadier General Fraser's men take full control of the Barber wheat field, which is at the very bottom right of the picture. And then General Burgoyne is redoubling his efforts to move his forces into contact with General Arnold's defensive position. That's kind of in the center bottom of the picture. Then on the British left, Baron von Riedesel moves his forces to try to refuse Gates' advance toward the Wilbur Basin there. And that is at the top left part of the picture. In fact, the Baron's units are mostly in the green colors. So Hall's cannon fire again at the Hessian troops across Mill Creek and miss. Then Morgan's rifles fire on the British 62nd Regiment, and they hit. This causes the British unit to lose a step, and their morale drops down to 13 points. Still high morale for both sides here. Then during close combat, Brigadier General Fraser attacks the Americans across the middle branch with the Grenadiers and the 21st Fusiliers. So in the tactics chips, the Americans do outsmart the British this time, but the enemy has too much firepower to overcome, so it doesn't help. The Massachusetts 8th takes a step loss in this firefight. Then Burgoyne attacks the New Hampshire regiments across the middle branch. Again, Arnold is able to outplay the British tactics, and this time it hurts the British. The fighting 9th suffers a disruption, and the regiment has to fall back to Freeman's Farm. This causes the British Army morale to drop to 12 points, and the other British units involved all pass their morale check and are able to hold their position. Then on the eastern flank, this is along the Hudson River, Baron von Riedesel launches an attack against the 14th Massachusetts Regiment, and he has the advantage, but things go poorly for the Germans because the Americans are able to out-tactic them with the tactics chits, and von Riedesel's regiment is disrupted and falls back, and that brings British Army morale down to 11 points. Still high morale, though. Now the Americans look for some opportunities, and the Duchess of Ulster's regiment joins the 15th Mass to pinch off the track that leads to Bemis Heights. You can see that about midway up on the right-hand side of the picture, how they're blocking that track. Then the 2nd Massachusetts sets up for an assault against the Ottawa Indian Formation in the forest just to the west of Bemis Heights. And then General Arnold attacks the wounded 62nd Regiment on his right, and Gates is pushing the Hessians back across Mill Creek. Jones' artillery fires point blank at the 1st New Hampshire along the Middle Creek, and that's a successful hit, and the 1st New Hampshire has to retreat. Then the Hessian artillery fires at Hall's cannon across the Mill Creek. That's up along the Hudson River in the picture, but they miss. And then there's rifle fire, and the Hessian Jaegers fire at the 2nd New York, but this also has no effect. So we go into close combat. Arnold again attacks the 62nd Regiment. This is commanded by General Burgoyne, and his men try to withdraw, but they fail. And Arnold ends up getting a +4 die roll modifier on the attack, and they end up capturing the 62nd Regiment. That causes British morale to fall to 10 points, and American morale increases to 13 points. Now there is going to be an effect on the die roll for the British, a negative effect. They won't get any bonuses, in other words, but the Americans will. Then on Arnold's left, the American forces attack the Ottawa Indian Formation at extremely high odds. They end up eliminating the Ottawa. This drops British morale again, now down to 9 points, and the Americans increase their morale up to 14. So the battle's really starting to swing a little bit here, but it is late in the day. On the north side of Mill Creek, 2 of the Massachusetts regiments attack the 2nd Chasseurs, and despite the fact that they have high odds here, the attacker ends up retreating. The 14th Massachusetts, though, passes its morale check and is able to hold its position. So we see that it looks like the tide's turning a little bit here, but there is still one more turn in the game. This brings turn 11 to an end, but please stay tuned if you'd like to see what happens.